with working on his craft. He's really been getting used to his positioning and his defensive craft. And
that is
Robbie, you beauty.
Welcome folks to Between the Posts. My name is Tony Neal and joining me tonight is Indiana Rogers. Greetings, Indy.
Greetings to you as well, Tony.
I tell you what, we have first of all the entree, then the main course tonight, folks. Just if you're a football purist, I take off my commentating hat. I say to the coaches and players out there, whether you're a teammate or an opponent, lose all of that. Just sit back as a football purist and just spectate this fantastic mark taken by Paul Puopolo on Friday night.
Earlier with working on his craft, he's really been getting used to his positioning and his defensive craft. And
that is
Robbie, you beauty. Paul Puopolo has taken an absolute screamer on the wing here, and he goes forward.
So that was from Friday night, Pembroke versus Hope Valley. We got out there to commentate the Division 3 game. Fantastic to see and just unbelievable out there, the atmosphere and of course the bits of play. That was the entree. What else have we got on tonight, Indy?
Some familiar flavours once again tonight. We've got Phil Herden giving us an overview of all the results over the weekend for the men's and women's leagues all across the Adelaide Footy League. We've also got Tommy Javor giving our Division 1 wrap as always, and we got two division specialists tonight for Division 2 as well as Division 5.
And Indy, we always do the goals and marks on here, but I'll tell you what, the game has given us so much more over this last couple of weeks. So what we've done is we've put together a highlights package, a montage of some of the goals and marks from over the weekend. It was just sensational. Two games were won after the siren. One was from a mark, one was from a free kick that's a little bit contentious through some people's eyes, but the games were won. We have, as we said, a montage of some of the other marks and goals. Which game had the balloons come across? It wasn't just one or two. There would have been 50 balloons in this group of balloons, I suppose you call them, a flock of balloons, came across the ground, and the player, I reckon he was having a shot at goal, aimed at the balloons, and that helped. That was interesting to see in the Adelaide Football League. And of course, Indy's analytics, this is sensational. Glenunga versus Sacred Heart it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, we'll also be rehashing the current standings on the leaderboard for the Roll the Dice Player of the Year award. As always, one coach stands out from the rest every week, and this week we got two more random shots to resupply another lucky coach with. Tony, who is this week's Coach of the Week?
Well, our winner this week, Indy, comes from Division 7, and Craig Forby, you are the winner. Get in contact with us, mate. You've got two bottles of the beautiful random shot wines. You've got that one's a Shiraz and that one's a Cab Sav coming your way. Well done.
Welcome to the Div 1 Weekly Wrap with Tommy Javor, and we just did that nice part of the season, a real good snapshot of the year. We are 9 rounds in, moving into round 10, and obviously all teams have played each other once. Let's have a look at the Stream Team match of the round, which was Goodwood and Broadview at Goodwood, and Goodwood had come good with 2 wins in a row. Goodwood 10-15, 75, 35-point winners over Broadview 5-10, 40. The player we're going to be looking at in focus is from the Tommy Javor Footy Factory. That's right. Just this week, a memory flashed up. 7 years ago, he was playing for the Bays under 13s. It's Charlie Pridham, number 33 for the Saints. 29 touches at 79%, 7 marks, and went by 100% by hand. An outstanding effort. Charlie is a very small, diminutive type character. You look at him, you wouldn't think he's a great footballer, but he's a ball magnet and obviously proved his worth for the Saints on the weekend. Major goal scorers for the Saints were Fairley, Cleland and Burgess, all kicking 2, whilst the only multiple goal kicker for Broadview was Nick Ferguson. Of course, being a stream team game, there's a host of awards. I wasn't there on the weekend. Happy birthday to my mother-in-law, so there was no TJ award, but the Moseley Voucher Best Team Player went to Nick Favoretto. The Neo Morph Mouthguard Player of the Day awarded by Phil went to Connor Fairley, son of a legend named Dave, I believe. And of course, the BOG New Balance Voucher and Dartfish Beanie goes to Charlie Pridham. Let's have a look at some of the actual team stats from Dartfish. And look, they were very even, to be honest with you. There wasn't a lot of discrepancies. Goodwood taking 12 more marks. And Phil, who contacted me post-game, said one of the areas they did control that aerial was intercept marks. So intercept marks, especially in the Broadview back line, they took a lot of those marks, and that was probably the difference. Only 22 more effective disposals on the day as well for the Saints. Good to see them with back-to-back wins. The award that everyone wants to win is the Roll the Dice Player of the Year. And all the votes went to Goodwin today. On this occasion, it was 1 vote to Ryan Dykeman, 2 votes to Nick Favoretto, who's having a good, consistent season, and 3 votes to the man you've been watching, Charlie Pridham. Speaking of watching, of course, you're watching Between the Posts. And one thing Tea Tree Gully aren't doing very well is putting the ball between the posts. For the 3rd time this year, they've kicked just 2 goals, and this time it was at home. Tea Tree Gully 2 goals, 6-18, a 97-point loss to ladder leaders PAC. 17-13, 115. The player in focus is going to be that man, number 27, Hayden Jolly. You want to talk about games of footy? Well, he played one. 37 touches at 89%. This now makes him the most efficient player in the Adelaide Footy League Division 1 comp. And as you can understand, in the votes and heading up the leaderboard of the Roll the Dice Player of the Year. He also had 5 marks and 4 clearances. Major goal scorers, that dynamic duo of Brazel and Davis struck together again with 7, and they were joined by Kobe Tozer, who kicked 4. Both of Tea Tree Gully's goals were kicked by Pete Personos, who obviously gave his all in what was a pretty tough defeat. In the match stats, well, in a 97-point loss, they don't make good reading. 102 more touches to the Reds. 94 more effective, so again, you can't let them have that ball usage because they become deadly, and 44 more marks. A day Tea Tree Gully wanted to put behind them, but going from 4-1 to 4-5, they need to find a fix to this problem real soon. Let's look at the Roll the Dice Player of the Year award. No surprise, they are all PAC players. 1 vote to Jordan Neal, 2 votes to Campbell Wildman, running from defence, and 3 votes to midfielder Hayden Jolly. Our next game was at Caterer Oval. It was Spock taking on Port District. Spock 10-7-67, pardon me, a 32-point loss to Port District, 15-9-99. Getting the footage up now, our player in focus is Port number 20, Gav Shepherd. The great man Peter Walsh, ABC legend, awarded him best on ground with his 16 touches, but it was 5 goals won. He took 6 marks, and 4 of those marks were inside 50. Again, the most damaging forward on the ground. He kicked 5 for Port, whilst Harry Dwyer kicked 4. For Spock, young fella, 18-year-old Stuart Rattray. When he plays well. He kicked 3 for Spockies. Again, looking at the Dartfish match stats for the teams, it was 13 more inside 50s to Port. And Spock probably shot themselves in the foot by having 17 more turnovers. In the games I've watched Spock this year, that has been a bit of a constant threat. They do get their hands on the pill, but they do turn it over. Overall, a huge amount of possessions on a wet day. It was Port 356, Spock 324. Okay, Roll the Dice Player of the Year time, and the votes were shared. The Greek Adonis, Johnny Vrodas from Spock got 1 vote, Benny Belpero from Spock with 2 votes, and that man, Gav Shepherd, best on ground with the 3. Moving over to the match, it was 2nd versus 3rd, and it was raining all day, and the conditions probably suited Glenunga. They were too strong in the end. Glenunga 8-9-57, a 15-point win against Sacred Heart, 6-6-42. Our player in focus, he was best on ground in round 1, and he's been best on ground again in round 9. It's number 17, Darcy Mitchell. He controlled the rucks with 28 hitouts. He had 6 tackles, 9 kicks, and 4 free kicks, putting his body on the line. The goal kickers for the day for a brace for Harry Stephen Prosser, kicking 2 in his milestone game. Congratulations to him and Michael McMahon on their milestones. And the whiz, Fletcher Wiseman, also kicked 2. Kakuro hit the scoreboard for Shock with 3. Match stats, again, it's not surprising. Glenunga had less disposals. They play a pressure game, but then you flip it and you think, how do they win? 84 tackles. Pressure around the ball. You don't get uncontested easy ball into your forward line when you play Glenunga. They strangle you, they stop you, they are good. And Glenunga, again, I'm not telling the coaches anything, they can't read themselves. A 3-to-1 kick to handball ratio. They get the ball on the boot, they take the grass, if you like, with that modern footy vernacular, and they get the ball, repeat stoppage in the forward line, and clearly it worked with a great win. All right, best players for the Roll the Dice Player of the Year. Abe Davis, 1 vote from Glenunga. He played on Beau McRae, who got the 2 votes, so they obviously both had a big impact. But best on ground, that man we talked about, Darcy Mitchell. Let's move on to our next and final game of the round. It was Old Iggy's and Brighton at Karen Rolton. This one was a little bit closer than we thought. It was Old Iggy's 7-9-51, Brighton 9-19. Not a bad effort there for Old Iggy's, certainly an improved effort. Goal kickers for Old Iggy's, Tommy Ryan kicked 2 and Miller for Brighton kicking 4. Best on ground and the player in footage, and what a season he's having. Really, really consistent. Number 5 from Brighton, Nigel Osborne. He had 30 touches, 9 clearances, 7 marks, and on a wet day, 11 tackles. Always in and under. It's the 3rd or 4th time I think he's polled in the Roll the Dice Player of the Year award this year, but this was his first best on ground. Looking at the match stats for Brighton, 19 more inside 50s, 39 more effective possessions, 20 more marks, 17 more tackles, 8 more clearances. To me, it looks like pretty much Nigel Osborne being the difference there. They're almost his stats there. So great job to Brighton, and they just keep themselves in the hunt there. Player of the Year award time for Old Ignatius. Good to see someone get a vote there. Will Ferrari with 1 vote, 2 votes for Justin Evans from Brighton, and that man, Nigel Osborne, best on ground. The leaderboard, I don't have the updated leaderboard on me, completely updated, so apologies if I slightly missed some, but I know Blake Penny is leading with 10, Chris Curran is second on 9, Bo Schwartz and A. Davis are both on 8, and then there is a host of players on 7. Alex Collotto, Louis Sharrod, I know Darcy Mitchell's on 6. Hayden Jolly's polled the last 2 weeks. Watch out for Hayden. He is coming with a tremendous run of form, and a whole host of players in there on 5, 6 and 7 votes. So the horse is anyone's guess at this stage. Let's have a look at the ladder. As I said, we're at that sweet part of the year. Round 9, we've had a good snapshot. Everyone's played everyone. Now everyone on the back end looking for revenge. Port District's PAC sitting on top 8-1. They look very good. Their only loss coming to Port District. Glenunga 7-2, Port District 7-2. Shock with that loss, just fall off a little bit, but sit 4th, 6-3, 2 games clear of a chasing pack. And that chasing pack for me is 4 teams. Teacher Gully 4-5, having lost their last 4. Broadview's 4-5, Brighton 4-5, Goodwood 3-6. Goodwood with their last 2 games winning and winning well. Be very interesting to see what happens this week in their game. Spock and Old Iggy's just looking for that second win, both 1-8. I think they're going to Div 2 next year. Let's have a look at this week's games, and there's some beauties. Port and Broadview at Largs. Round 1, who can forget? Broadview knocking off Port in one of the last kicks of the day. I think Port will take revenge and should win well at Largs. Sacred Heart and Goodwood, again, another close game decided by less than a goal the first time around. Goodwood are on a bit of a roll now, but I think Shock have got too much talent and should get the chocolates at home. Brighton and Glenunga, first time round. Glenunga, well, they schooled them, they taught them a lesson, they brained them, they destroyed them. It was 96 points. This game will be at least 12 goals closer. I'll even go as far as to say if Glenunga aren't on, Brighton at home could upset them. I don't think they will. I think Glenunga are too well coached, despite what you might read elsewhere, and I think they'll be too strong. Glenunga by 4 or 5 goals sometime. PAC and Spock, the Intercoal battle. Unfortunately, these 2 teams find pretty much on opposite ends of the ladder, and PAC will be too strong. It was reasonably close first time round. I don't think it'll be that close this time at Park 9. And Old Iggy's and Tea Tree Gully. As I mentioned, Tea Tree Gully have lost their last 4 in a row. They have to find a way to get back on the winners list. If they don't, they'll move outside the 5 for the first time this year. For me, it's Tea Tree Gully at home. You've been watching Tommy Javor with the Division 1 wrap. Stay tuned for more Between the Posts.
Welcome back. Well, it's the time for our buddy bet. It's like, Matt, the old-fashioned handshake. So, what we're going to bet on this week, folks, myself and Matt Gale, on the 5 Division 1 games, who we think the winners are. So, let's have a look first of all, Matt, Port District versus Broadview. Who are you going for?
Port Districts.
Yes, I think I'll stick with Port Districts there. Goodwood versus Sacred Heart Old Collegians.
Sacred Heart. I think we'll win that one reasonably easily.
Well, I'm going Goodwood on this one.
Oh, interesting.
Look out. Brighton versus Glenunga at Brighton.
I'm going to go with Glenunga. No conviction there, but I think Glenunga will get the chocolates.
All right, well, a little bit of hesitation. I'm actually going to go with Brighton.
Are playing
Down
well,
at
they Brighton. Playing very nicely.
All right, PAC versus St Peters.
Yeah, PAC way too strong for St Peters this weekend.
I will agree with you on that one, Matt. See, we've got a few different, a few the same. Now, this is a big one. Old Iggy's versus Tea Tree Gully.
Old Iggy's in good form. Tea Tree Gully, not so much playing well away from home. They'll find this a little bit tougher than they'll probably suggest on paper, but I'm going to go with Tea Tree Gully to maintain their spot in the top 5.
Well, I've listened to your expertise. I hope I don't get kicked out of Tea Tree Gully next time I get there, but I'm actually going for Old Iggy's in this one for an
upset of the season.
Karen Rolton Oval, that'll be the best ground in the league. A lot of them will be sloppy and muddy. This will be a beautiful deck, and I'm not so sure that Tea Tree Gully will travel down there so well, and I think Iggy's aren't too far off putting a 4-quarter effort together and getting the win. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt. Let's keep an eye on this one over the next week, and that is our Buddy Bet. Remember, gamble responsibly.
Well, g'day footy fans, my name's Phil Hurd, and thanks to O'Neill Sportswear, welcome to the Weekend Wrap, where we look at all the A-grade men's results, ladders, upcoming big matches across the Adelaide Footy League. Games played Saturday, June the 24th. We start, as always, with the CMAX Clinical Research Division 7. And here we have Mitchell Park travelling to Flinders University, one of the shorter road trips in the Adelaide Footy League, and they emerged victorious by 2 goals. Para Hills continued their run at the top of the ladder. Strong 51-point win at home to Houghton. Ingle Farm made Lonsdale's long drive even longer with a 116-point win. And yes, Mawson Lakes have a win, their first for the season, and they've got off the bottom after defeating Hackham at home by 23 points. The ladder in the CMAX Clinical Research Division 7, you can see Para Hills and Ingle Farm, they've put a gap between them and the rest of the field. 2 games and decent percentage. Then it's Flinders Uni and Lonsdale with Oversbury Lonsdale with 5 wins, Houghton with 4, Mitchell Park 3.5. Drops to Mawson Lakes, they're off the bottom, they'd be happy today, and Hackham have a win, but now they are in the Atlas position, holding up the Adelaide Footy League. The 3rd and 4th both lost this weekend. The big match coming up next weekend, Saturday, July the 1st, OSB Lonsdale hosting Para Hills, is probably the pick of them. That is 4th hosting 1st in the CMAX Clinical Research Division 7. O'Neill Sportswear Division 6, Round 9 results here. Green Acres stayed atop the ladder, 5-goal winners over Adelaide Lutheran. Marion beat Salisbury by 4 goals. In a dogfight at Rosewater, the Bulldogs of Rosewater beat the Bulldogs of Central United by 4 goals. Now, Smithfield and Fitzroy match was abandoned. What happened? Unofficial reports indicate that there was a Smithfield spectator, well known to many of the Cats players, who had a medical incident, needed an ambulance. It was late in the game, late in the 4th quarter. Decision was made, we need to abandon the contest. It was with Fitzroy leading by a massive margin. I've put Fitzroy down for a win for that. We'll wait for official verification from League HQ. And the final result, St Paul's, who've been kicked around a few times this year, did a bit of kicking themselves, 36 scoring shots in fact, beating Brahma Lodge by 123. Now this ladder, I've given Fitzroy the win. I'll stand corrected if that's not the league rules. But Green Acres on top with 8.5 wins. Marion, half a game back. They're your top 2 sides. Fitzroy, with the win that I've given them from yesterday at Smithfield, they jump into 3rd. Salisbury with the loss back to 4th. Central United, despite their loss to Rosewater, are in the 5. But what's happened, that Rosewater Central United result has tightened the ladder somewhat. Just 1.5 wins between 4th and 7th. St Paul's a further game and a half behind Rosewater. Smithfield with the 1 win. Brahma Lodge, not sure if they're going to get one. Of course, we're at round 9. Everybody's played everybody now. and Brahma Lodge still winless. The games next week, well, it doesn't get bigger than first versus second. That's what happens as Green Acres host Marion. Another big one is Salisbury versus Rosewater. That's the 4th to 7th. Either we're going to have a 5-game gap, they're going to separate, or could be one premiership point in that logjam in the middle of the standings in the O'Neill Sportswear Division 6. Moving on to the Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5, and a big battle for third was won by Trinity Old Scholars on the road at Colonel Light Gardens. Both teams inaccurate. Trinity just one more scoring shot, they made it a goal. Woodville South took care of Eastern Park and a chance for the Cats to move up the standings by 14 points. Huge result at the Chicken House, aka home of the Chicks, Kilburn, Blair Athol Reserve. 30 goals, and they kicked 27 behinds. Heaven help if Kilburn could have kicked anything. They broke the double tongue. They beat Elizabeth by 179 points. We'll see what that means to percentage in just a sec. Elsewhere, West Croydon beat Blackfriars by 10 points, and Jeps Cross stayed undefeated, stayed atop with a percentage booster of their own, 81 points on the road at Pulteney. So the Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5, really it looks like it's a 2-horse race. Jeps Cross unbeaten at 9-0, Kilburn at 8-1. Drops 2 games back to Trinity, who are now in 3rd spot, Colonel Light Gardens in 4th, and then you've got West Croydon on 4 wins, and 4 teams chasing them. Woodville South, Blackfriars, Pulteney, Elizabeth, all on 3 wins. So you've got, 5 teams, 1 game between them. And look at Elizabeth's percentage now. It's dropped behind the pack. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to get belted. And that's almost a double loss for the Eagles. Eastern Park, 2 wins back. Pretty decent percentage if they can get some wins on the board. Games in Division 5 this week, Blackfriars versus Pulteney. That's 2 of the 3 win sides trying to break out of the logjam. Game of the round probably is at Gawler, with Trinity Old Scholars host West Croydon. That's 3rd versus 5th in the Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5. 9 News Division 4. Upset Central here. Walkerville beat Lockleys. Kenilworth, maybe not the upset, beat Portland. Morphy Parks beat Hectorville. Bit of a surprise there, sort of. Plimpton beat Paraka at Paraka. That's a surprise. And CBC Old Collegians, no surprise here, held off Mitcham at home by 21 points. If I was giving a prize for the most even division in the Adelaide Footy League A-grade level, it would probably be the 9 News Division 4. Here's the ladder. Paraka, despite the loss, still on top. Then have a look. 2nd to 8th. 2 wins between them. Lockleys, CBC, just a game ahead of Plimpton, Kenilworth, Morphy Parks and Hectorville. Hectorville, the big drop this week with their loss. They're all on 5 wins. Walkerville, just a game back. Their percentage of 51.6 puts them in good stead if they can get the W's. And then it's 2 games and percentage back to Mitcham, 2 games and percentage back to Portland. It's a race and 8 in Division 4. Not sure if the bottom 2 have much chance of staying up at the halfway point of the season. Plenty of great games this weekend. CBC and Plimpton is 3rd versus 4th. That's only upstaged by Lockleys and Paraka, 2nd hosting 1st. Top 4 playing each other. Some big games in the 9 News Division 4 next week. To Division 3. Friday night affair. You saw it streamed. Thanks to Filming Footy, Pembroke Old Scholars beat Hope Valley by 55 points. Looking at the ladder, a bit of an upset, but the Kings love this Friday night affair at Norwood Oval. They make the best of it. Good, strong win there. In the Battle of the Colleges, the Old Scholars lost to the Old Collegians. Westminster down to Scotch by just 3 points. Modbury back on the winners list. Back on top? So they rose up the ladder. I'll show you that in a sec. Held Smosh to just 3 goals. Flinders Park keep Gazer winless, 41 points. And only Mercedes Jets had to work for it at Seaton, but they emerged victorious by 13 points. The ladder. For the 3rd time in 3 weeks, we have a new league leader. Only Mercedes now at 7-1-1 on top. Hope Valley's loss drops them to 3rd, Modbury up to 2nd. Game back, Flinders Park and Pembroke. So what are we there? 2.5 games between top and 5th. Scotch still in the running, half a game back. In essence, this is a race in 6 now, unless Smosh get a wriggle on. They're 3 and 6 with a percentage of 31. Hard to see them making up that ground on a Pembroke or a Flinders Park. Then it's the race to avoid relegation. Seaton Ramblers have that one win advantage and a bit of percentage over Westminster. Gazer, they're going to have a big turnaround in the second half of the season to avoid going to Division 4 next week. That's what it looks like in Division 3. The games of the round here, Unley Jets hosting Hope Valley, first versus third. That's the game of the round. Scotch and Pembroke. More Old Scholars going head-to-head, 6th versus 5th. The winner will be in the 5 next Saturday night. On to the Breakthrough Mental Health Foundation Division 2. Here, Foss Camden, 3 goals over Adelaide Uni at home. Athelston and Rocks. Athelston by 27 points. A little short road trip for Rocks there. Big, huge, mega upset. Salisbury North took care of Golden Grove by 13 points. The Kookaburras 5-15. 2 more scoring shots, 13-point losers. One upset, how's this one? North Haven, first win of the season, beating Henley by 1 point. Again, Henley, 4 more scoring shots, 1 point losers. And Edwardstown and Payneham Norwood Union, well, the Falcons, new league leaders, with an 11-point win at the Edwardstown Memorial Oval. The ladder in the Breakthrough Mental Health Foundation Division 2. New league leaders, it's Payneham, 8-1. Golden Grove a game back. Athelston and Foss battling for third. Rocks in the 5. 2-game back break now, and you've got 4 teams log-jammed on 3 wins. From 6th to 9th. Right now it's Henley with the worst percentage, sitting in the relegation zone. And despite the win for North Haven, and look, congratulations to them for that, it is still a long way back for the Magpies of North Haven. But they got a win, and that's what they need to do. The games of the week, Division 2, well, doesn't get bigger than this. Second hosting first, Golden Grove Kookaburras at Harpersfield will be hosting Payneham Norwood Union. The winner of that probably has the inside track on the minor premiership. Other good games though, Foss hosting Athelston, that's 4th hosting 3rd. So the top 4 are playing each other. Henley and Edwardstown, 2 teams on 3 wins. Desperately would want a 4th to avoid that relegation position. On to Division 1. And we have Brighton Bombers keeping Old Ignatians winless on the field. 22-point victor there to the Bombers. They go to 4-5. Prince Alfred had their way with Tea Tree Gully, 97-point win. Gully's just 2 goals for the match on their home deck. Port District at St Peter's, 32-point winners there. Keep the district's team in the top 3. Glenunga and Sacred Heart, that was the big game, 2nd versus 3rd. Narrow all day, Glenunga. And Sacred Heart got within 3 points late. Glenunga kicked the last 2 goals to emerge victorious by 15 points. And in the Stream Team game, Goodwood kicked 2 goals in the first 2 minutes of the match and went on from there to win by 35 points. The closest Broadview got to in the second half was about 14 points. That lifts the Saints clear out of relegation territory, and now they'll probably be fighting with Broadview, Brighton and Tea Tree Gully for a final spot. Let me show you how that works. Again, halfway point of the season, folks. This is a ladder of consequence given everybody's played everybody. So it's not a case of who's had the easier games or the hard games. Everybody's had every game. Prince Alfred on top, 8-1. Glenunga, 7-2. Port District, 7-2. So that's just the top 3. Sacred Heart with the loss to Glenunga. I reckon they're still finals bound at 6-3. Then, 5th spot. Who wants it? Tea Tree Gully had a blow to their percentage. It's still good enough to hold off for the moment Broadview and Brighton. Goodwood Saints, don't count them out. 3 wins, 6 losses. Decent percentage. I reckon they're in the finals mix more than a relegation risk. St Peter's, Old Ignatians, percentages in the 30s. I'm not sure how they're going to be in Division 1 next year. I know I'm going early, very early, but I just saw Goodwood Saints, the 8th place team, play a gate game yesterday, and Brighton are 3 games in percentage away. That's a long lot of ground to make up. So that's your standings in Division 1. The games next week, let's have a look at them. Port District versus Broadview. That is 3rd versus 6th in a round where the top 5 play the bottom 5. Sacred Heart, Goodwood Saints. Hey, Goody Saints won the last encounter back in round 1. Come to think of it, Broadview beat Port District in round 1 last time. Brighton and Glenunga at the Bombers. Glenunga won by 96 points in their round 1 encounter. Bombers will be hoping to keep that closer. Prince Alfred and St. Peter's, always a big matchup. The shortest road trip in the Adelaide Footy League. Cater Oval to Park 9. St. Peter's could almost get changed at Cater Oval and walk over to play. They won't, because it's wonderful facilities now at Park 9. Old Ignatians and Teacher Gully is the last game. I know it looks like 5th versus 10th, but the Gullies are struggling. Filming Footy will be there to cover Struggle Street. Can Old Ignatians get that first on-field win? So there are all the scores, all the ladders, all the big coming up games. Just one thing left. Who is Phil's team of the week? I've gone soft. What can I say? I've gone with 2 again because they both... by the way, honourable mention to Plympton beating Paraka. Big honourable mention to Salisbury North beating Golden Grove. That, in days gone past, would have got you a team of the week, but not this week because we had 2 teams who won their first game. Let's celebrate them both. Mawson Lakes in Division 7, they won their first game of the season to go with their draw, and they got off the bottom. They beat Hackham. North Haven, they just won their first game of the season, defeating Henley. You don't really want to get to the halfway point of the season, play everybody, and not have at least one win. Alrighty, that's a wrap on the wrap. Thanks to O'Neill Sportswear for their support. And this is Phil Hurden saying thanks for watching. Until next week's wrap, enjoy your footy.
Welcome to another edition of Indies Analytics, where I go over the game I commentated last weekend and look for some of the most standout moments, highlights, individual performances and other oddities that may have occurred throughout the game. And well, I've decided to keep Tony Neal at the desk for this one because we actually commentated the same game, Tony, didn't we?
We did, Indy. I'll tell you what, it had a lot going on, didn't it? The first half, the second half, there's a few other things that we'll discuss as well that went on during the game that you don't normally see at a game of football. What have you got to start with?
Well, I think the first thing was that controversial point kicked after the quarter time siren for Glenunga. So that would have ideally really evened up the scoreboard, but there was controversy coming from the fans because it was right in front of the Glenunga hub, so you could hear the fans were very vocal about it, and you'll see footage of it up on screen as well. The fans were very displeased, to say the least, let's be generous about it, with the umpire's call to redirect the man off of his mark, forcing him to do a check side because it's after siren. You can't actually step off your mark when it's after siren. Now, they've slightly optimised that in Major League, as we know, and they've given players a little bit more leniency there, but still at lower end leagues, it's quite strict on you got to stay on your mark. So the Glenunga player kicked a check side point. It looked really good for a goal. The fans were actually cheering, and when it was called a point by the goal umpires, then, well, not much was thought of it. And there were flags swinging at both ends, and it was interesting. Yes. It was, a bit of indecisiveness, a lack of clarity, and half of the quarter-time break was actually spent just trying to get a bit of clarity over it. But what did you recognise after that?
Well, there was lots of celebrations from one team, and the other team were all pointing and talking. They weren't arguing, but talking with the umpire. So what happened, folks? I rang Colin Rouston because let's find out what the actual answer is. So what happens? The players, the goalposts are here, the player is here on the mark, and the player lines up for a drop punt. The siren goes and he says, no, I want to come in and kick it around the corner. So the understanding before I spoke with Colin was that you can go back as long as you come in and kick over the mark and not come around past the mark, which is correct. So Colin just rectified that and said, yes, the player, it's like a tick, so you can go back as long as you come and kick over the man on the mark, which that player did, and as you said, scored a point. So the rule stood. The umpire was correct on Saturday, so well adjudicated to the umpires. What else have you got, Indy?
We want to talk about each of us, because we both commentated the game together, our personal unheard heroes of the weekend. The players who don't rack up the big stats, don't get the votes from the coaches or even the roll the dice votes, but they still contribute as a major factor in the team's ultimate success for today. So I wanted to ask you yours first because there was a particular player that caught your eye.
Yeah, I think Alex Haran, the captain, because midway through the second quarter, he's always there on the bottom of the pack, but didn't sort of mention him much. But boy, oh boy, did he lift. Probably about halfway through that second quarter. And it was one of those occasions like, yes, they all did lift. And I did mention this in the broadcast. It wasn't so much that Sacred Heart dropped off. It was that they stayed the same, but Glenunga lifted on the back of Alex Haran and some of the other players as well. But it was one of those jump on my back, so I'll lead the way sort of situations. He was on the bottom of so many packs. We saw a couple of times he was on his hands and knees and still reaching up and tackling players. And just an absolutely mighty effort, as I said, from halfway through that second quarter all throughout the second half. So really admirable to sometimes take the commentating hat off and just watch what an individual player can do to lift his team.
Yeah, very admirable selection as well. Not one that I disagree with, but for my money, I'm personally going to go with Zach Smith. I feel like he just contributed such a really good intercept role for that team, and he did actually win a beanie and thongs several weeks ago. We commentated a game at Glenunga. That was the ladies' night game, I reckon. So that was a while ago, very early days in the season. But Zach Smith in particular wouldn't otherwise get a whole lot of recognition, and he won those 3 votes, but he only had about a 12 disposal game or something like that, so he didn't get a whole lot of the ball, but it's his composure with those intercept possessions. Yep. He knows how to read it and break off of his man at good time. He's very reminiscent of those Aaliyah and Darcy Moore types that we see at the major level, and I think it's quite fair to make those comparisons with the way he's able to compose himself, and he rarely fumbles with the ball and turns it over by foot as well, so he's a very reliable source and another underrated player. And I reckon that just about does us for this week's particular analytics, but there is one more thing. The 21-minute mark of the third quarter, there was something we spotted off the stats sheet, off the actual eye of play, something very intriguing that we weren't expecting to see. Very rare sight in football.
Indy, I was commentating, and the excitement when you saw this, and I thought, what is happening? There's something going on. There was that man with the dog over the back of the ground. I thought something's happened there. The dog's off the leash. It wasn't that. The party pies and sausage rolls were brought into us, and I thought they might have gone kaput and gone on the ground. It wasn't that. These balloons, and I know it's only balloons, folks, but there would have been 20 in this bunch, just all of a sudden came across the ground, and as that player went for a shot on goal, they almost stopped in the middle of the goals as a target, and it's not something you see every day, and it was quite exciting on the day to see it. Everyone's watching these balloons go by as the game of football was on. So we'll have a bit of footage of that. It's a little bit of fun as well, but great day down there, down at Glenunga. We do thank them for the hosting service that they provided with us as well.
Neutral possession now with the umpire as he throws it back into play. There's some balloons in the background, Tony. Look at over there. The clubroom end. There's blue balloons going off. In the meantime, Seb Kerish has cleared a torpedo into the forward line. How's it going to bounce? It won't bounce through. It'll be a free kick, though, for holding infringement. That's taken everyone by surprise. The balloons are coming down our end. Look at that. We're going to get a view at them now. There they are. The balloons just coming over the ground and on camera. I don't know who let those ones go, but I don't know if they're coming back down. They're coming over the goal.
Aim for the balloons and you'll kick the goal, son. Look at that.
Hi, I'm Matt Gale and welcome to this week's Division 2 Breakthrough Mental Health Wrap. North Haven broke through for their breakthrough victory for season 2023 against Henley on the weekend with a solitary point. And this is despite not scoring in the last quarter. Now, if you haven't caught up with all the action, have a look at the jubilant celebrations on our Facebook page, which sees the North Haven boys come into the chamberings after the game. Did hear a little whisper along the grapevine that they did have a past players event. That always inspires the team. Well done to North Haven for their breakthrough victory thus far this season. Salisbury North flipped the competition on its head by defeating previous ladder leaders Golden Grove on the weekend, and they defeated them by 13 points at home. A 4-goal second quarter set up the victory, and Golden Grove didn't do themselves any favours again, kicking 5 goals 15. So their woeful goal kicking continues, and they'll need to rectify that in the top of the table clash, which we'll speak about a little bit later on. If it wasn't for the clerical error earlier in the season, where they lost their 3 victories and a whacker percentage, we'd be talking about Salisbury North in a different light. However, in reality, Saturday's game against the Kookaburras may have been that line in the sand win that they needed to get their season re-kick started. Football is a numbers game, and quite often we hear expert commentator Dermot Brereton suggesting that the first team to 100 points will be the winner 99 times out of 100. But have you ever heard of players' numbers exceeding 50? Not very often. Sean Wren, for instance, 52. However, we do see it sometimes in the Magoos down at West Adelaide. There are players who exceed number 70. Or when players are top-up players playing in the VFL state competition, which now has 22 teams. Listen to this though. Josh Goss has the Guernsey number 75. But James Carter has gone one better, and potentially the only player that plays this game, Australian rules football, in the world that has a number over 100. He has number 194 on his back. So that's just the stats. I love looking deep into it, and well done to James Carter for expressing himself with Guernsey number 194. My $64,000 questions. Will the top five remain the same? It has for some time. The pecking order's starting to shift, but we'll talk more about that now. And who's actually going to get relegated come the season's end? Adelaide University, Edwardstown, Salisbury North and Henley are in 6th to 9th position respectively. They've all secured 3 wins this season, and only percentage splits the pack. However, they're still 2 wins away and a fairly big chunk of percentage behind Ross Trevor. Can someone mount a charge in the second half of the season? And who's ultimately going to go down to Division 3? Who knows? Moving along, and before I do, we've got the Breakthrough Mental Health beanie on. Big shout out to old Iggy's from Division 1, who celebrated the occasion with a fundraiser for the Breakthrough Mental Health, who are doing wonderful things in our community, and never underestimate your mental health and that of others, and please continue those fruitful discussions and help a mate out where you can. I'm going to flip the script. On goes the buddy bet. So this week's buddy bets and forecasting this week's games. Golden Grove, Payneham Norwood Union. Could this be the matchup of the season? I certainly think it will be the case. This team will go top of the ladder, whoever wins. And if Golden Grove can get up and rue those missed opportunities in front of the big sticks, I think they'll win, and they'll win by about 25 points. Henley hosts Edwardstown in what appears to be another blockbuster. I'm going to wedge my bets both ways. I'm going to go both teams under 15.5 points. We're getting quite a lot of rain on our surfaces, which are getting quite muddy, and I'm suggesting that this will play a part, as we saw with the results, where no team won over 28 points in the Division 2 Breakthrough Mental Health this weekend. Adelaide Uni are playing host to North Haven at home. Expect them to spoil North Haven's party from last week, and I'm expecting Adelaide Uni to get up by under 25.5 points. Ross Trevor Old Collegians have an exciting matchup on their home turf against the informed Salisbury North. Can Ross Trevor break away from the bottom 5, or can Salisbury North continue to mount their charge? I'm going to go both teams under 15.5 points. This will be an absolute classic. Foss Camden takes on Athelston at home on Anzac Highway in what will be an absolute rip snorter between 3rd and 4th. Foss Camden are in terrific form. Their last path months have been absolutely superb, but expect Athelston to take home the chocolates as they head back down the other way of Anzac Highway to get home by under 25.5 points. It's been Matt Gale bringing all the action from Division 2 Breakthrough Mental Health. All the best to you and your team this week. Thank you.
Well, g'day footy fans, my name's Phil Herden, and thanks to O'Neill Sportswear, this is the Women's Wrap, where we look at all the results, ladders and upcoming matches across every game of women's footy in the Adelaide Footy League, looking at the round played on Saturday, June the 24th. Starting point, as always, is the Villiers Bakery Division 6, and a screen you don't want to see. 3 forfeits, unfortunately. Goodwood Saints to Tea Tree Gully, Flinders Park to Athelston, Ingle Farm to Marion. The one game played, the Kookaburras of Golden Grove did the job on Mitchell Park at Mitchell Park, winning by 56 points. The ladder, after that round 9, sees Tea Tree Gully still on top with Athelston and Hot Pursuit, just percentage separating. Golden Grove, despite the forfeit, is still in 3rd with Marion on 12 points. Flinders Park, really it's a race and 5. For that, well, to be honest, I reckon the top 4 set. Flinders Park are 2 games back, and 50% behind. That's 3 wins, and there's only 5 to go. Goody Saints, Ingle Farm 1 win, Mitchell Park still looking, but at least they played the game. Games next week, the big one, Division 6, is between Golden Grove and Marion. That's third hosting fourth. Elsewhere, and let's hope we get through the sicknesses and everyone's back, Ingle Farm host Tea Tree Gully, Goodwood Saints host Athelston, and Flinders Park host Mitchell Park. That's the Villiers Bakery Division 6. Power 8 Division 5, unfortunately a forfeit, Elizabeth forfeiting to Salisbury North. On the field, Modbury held Loretto goalless, won by 20. North Haven let Kilburn score 1 goal, also won by 20. And in the close one, Edwardstown and Woody South had a pretty good battle. 18 scoring shots to 5. You'd probably say Edwardstown should have won by more. They did, by 18 points. The Power 8 Division 5 ladder, 3-way tie for top. North Haven, Woodville South and Loretto, all 6 and 2. Modbury a game and a half back. They're in their own battle with Edwardstown to play finals. Kilburn, just a small chance of finals, and I don't think there's much hope now for Salisbury North and Elizabeth again with those 5 games to go. The games coming up next week in the Power 8 Division 5, Salisbury North and Woodville South, Edwardstown and Modbury. Will that break the deadlock? Remembering that they drew last time they played. Loretto and North Haven is first versus third. That's massive in the top of the table deadlock. And Kilburn play Elizabeth at Blair Athol Reserve. That's the Power 8 Division 5. Neomorph Mouthguards, they sponsor Division 4, and here, unfortunately, one last forfeit. Greenacres forfeiting to Eastern Park. Elsewhere, Hectorville easy over Lockleys. Fitzroy lost to Mitcham at Fitzroy by 3 goals. Congratulations to the Hawks. And Scotch Old Collegians in a close one, 5-point winners over West Croydon. Same scoring shots, just that little bit more accuracy. Saw Scotch over the line. And there was a Friday night and Saturday game in there as well. That was the Lockleys Hectorville match. So in the Neomorph Mouthguards Division 4 ladder, Eastern Park and Hectorville have a gap on the rest. Mitcham, 2 games back and a fair chunk of percentage. They're going to be hard to catch those top 2 with 5 games to go. Lockleys are in the 5, but just on percentage from Scotch. That's your battle for finals. 5 for 4 spots. At the end of the ladder, it's Fitzroy, it's West Croydon. By the way, Fitzroy's percentage, 2 and 7, 54.58. Go figure. West Croydon, 2 and 7, and Greenacres, let's just hope they get some games to see out their season. The big games the games in the Neomorph Mouthguards Division 4, Fitzroy and Hectorville. Hectorville, hope you got a clash jumper. West Croydon and Lockleys, Greenacres and Scotch. The big one is Mitcham versus Eastern Park. That is third, hosting first, Saturday afternoon at Price Memorial Oval, home of the Hawks. To Division 3. And here, Pembroke over Flinders Park by 12 points. Pulteney over Jeps Cross by 8 goals. Hope Valley demolished Salisbury, held scoreless. And Kenilworth Flinders University, well, they had the bye. The ladder, Pembroke a game ahead of a 3-way tie for second. Hope Valley, Pulteney, Flinders Park. That 4 is set. Can't see Jeps Cross or anyone else making up that gap in wins and percentage. Basically, Jeps Cross are 4 games back. There's 5 to play, and there's byes, so there might only be 4 to play. So that 4 is set. Where they finish, obviously still to be worked out. In terms of the games next week, in the 9U's Division 3, Pulteney and Kenilworth, Flinders Uni, Hope Valley and Jeps Cross, Salisbury and Pembroke. It's a week where the top 3 play the bottom 3. So probably a little bit more separation in that 9U's Division 3. Division 2, where Golden Grove had the bye, saw Goody Saints over Tea Tree Gully. That is the Gully's first loss of the season. So congrats to Goody Saints causing that upset. Alas, a forfeit, Anglevale winning, Brighton forfeiting, Westminster taking care of Gazer by 55 points. The ladder in Division 2 sees Tea Tree Gully, despite the loss, still on top, 1 game ahead of Goodwood. Golden Grove a further game back. Still a battle for the 4th position. Gazer, a slim chance that percentage is going to hurt them. They're as good as 3 games back with 5 to go. Pretty tricky. Anglevale, they're not in such a bad situation. Wins and losses 7%, might be able to make up depending on who they're playing. And Brighton, unfortunately, still looking for that first win. In Division 2, the biggest game is between Goodwood Saints and Westminster. That is second hosting 4th. Elsewhere, the Owls and the Gullies at Anglevale Oval, the Bombers and the Kookaburras down at Brighton late on Saturday twilight. To the Division 1 reserves, Happy Valley at home at Park 25. Go figure. Beat Old Nations by 63 points. Morphy Park's 11 over Smosh. Broadview held to 1 behind Payneham Norwood Union. Sort of a top 3 battle there by 34 points. And Henley getting a win over Adelaide Uni, who were held goalless. The ladder in the Division 1 reserves, Payneham Norwood Union, they're still unbeaten. Morphy Park's 1 loss. Broadview now have 2. They are, one of those 3 should win the premiership. You then got Smosh, Happy Valley and Henley. 3 teams separated by just percentage, although Henley's percentage a long way back from the others. But yeah, any of those 3 could make up the 4th spot. Adelaide Uni, another game to make up. They're running out of matches. And Old Ignatians, well, they just want a win from somewhere in the Division 1 reserves. In terms of Division 1, the elite level here in the Adelaide Footy League, Happy Valley, Old Ignatians, the Vikings still can't find the win, but they're getting some scores. 18 points, the margin there to Old Ignatians, their second for the season. Morphy Park, so then we got our big 3. Morphy Park's demolished Smosh Westlakes by 92 points. Broadview and Payneham Norwood Union was the game of the day. Broadview at home took care of the Falcons by 15 points. We'll see what that does to the ladder in a sec. And Henley, they beat Adelaide Uni by 33 points in a critical battle to stay in the top 4. The ladder, you can see here, we have a 3-way tie at the top. Despite the loss, Payneham Norwood Union stayed just ahead of Broadview and Morphy Parks, all those percentages in the 70s. It drops 3 games to Henley. That big win over Adelaide Uni keeps them in the 4 for now. And they have a bit of a percentage gap against the chasing pack, which is mainly Smosh Westlakes. Adelaide Uni and Old Ignatians are 2 games and percentage behind again. What are we? They're 8 games in, so they've got 6 or so games to go, running out of games. And Happy Valley still hoping for that first win. What's the schedule look like across Division 1 League and reserves? Henley High School will see the Sharks and Morphy Parks. Morphy Parks favoured there in the league. Broadview will be heavy favourites against Old Ignatians. That's at Broadview Oval on Saturday. And a late game back at Happy Valley Oval with the reconstruction and so forth. The Valley's hosting Adelaide Uni. Is this Happy Valley's chance for that first win? It's a Saturday night affair in the league starting at 7. Payneham Norwood Union and Smosh have a bye in that round 9 fixture. So that's the women's competition. Sad to see some forfeits, but things are starting to take shape. The finals are on the horizon, and we're getting to the pointy end of the minor round. My name's Phil Hurd, thanks again to O'Neill Sportswear. Thanks to you for watching. Until next week's show, hope you enjoy your women's footy.
Welcome back. Well, it's time for our Division 5 wrap, sponsored by Wakefield Sports Clinic and our specialist, Vince Cosme. I'll tell you what, Vince, bit going on in Division 5 too.
I'll tell you what, Tony, it's all happening down at Division 5, Wakefield Sports Clinic, Division 5, of course. Let's talk about what you did with your intro. One of the games that you mentioned, where we had a kick after the siren.
Oh, yes.
So, so here we are, there's not long to go in this game. Scores are level. And the ball is probably about 60 metres out, and Jackson Deering, number 1's got it. So he does the long bomb.
Just hoping.
It lands about 15 metres out, and then from about 3 deep, Bailey Pavogel takes this excellent pack mark. Actually, Cop one
was a ripper.
Yeah, Cop's one at the same time. I think it might have, when I looked at the vision, might have been more friendly fire. So he took a little bit of time to get up. and gather himself, but then went back to the mark. Then the siren's going, and so it decides, well, I've got a lot longer than my 30 seconds now, so we're going to do our shoelaces up and just make sure we're all pretty kosher. I'm surprised you didn't call the runner to get a drink as well. But
I think he was suffering a little bit. It was a pretty decent grab in the knock.
It was, yeah.
So wrap it up,
he took a bit of time.
The boots.
And does the boots and kicks a sausage roll, and off he goes to the pocket, and everyone's chasing him. And so well done to Trinity. That put them in clear into third spot above Colonel Light Gardens. So they're still chasing, obviously, Jeps Cross and Kilburn. So let's talk a bit about Jeps Cross and Kilburn. The week before, both 7-0. Now, John and I went out to Jeps Cross on the Thursday before this game and spoke to Neil Rawlings, the coach, and to Robbie Young, ex-St Kilda, Port and North player. And we spoke a bit about this game, and it was at Jeps Cross. They were playing that Saturday. So half-time, 9 points of difference. Kilburn in front.
Clash.
Big clash. And probably going to script. Both teams, not a lot of pressure. Both teams not kicking well. 6-7 to 4-10 at half-time.
Oh, beautiful. Close game.
Yes, so good game. Second half, Jeps Cross kicked 13 goals to 1.
Ooh.
And can I coin a Rex Hunt-ism? It was a destroyation in the second half.
Spell that, please, Vince. Fair income. So you wonder what happens to teams, don't you? You know, is it physical? Is it mental? Were there injuries? We're close. We're going okay. Do you sit back? I don't know. There's so many different things can happen in a game of football, but
13 goals to 1 is pretty big. Absolutely.
You hold on to that for later on in the year. You store it up here or in the back pocket.
Well, probably for both teams. I mean, they've got to go to Kilburn to play them there, obviously, and Kilburn have bounced back pretty well. They've a very, very comfortable win by 199 points on the weekend over Elizabeth. They weren't the only side to kick 30 goals. Sydney, Kilburn did it as well, 30 goals, 27.
Sydney in Division 5. Unbelievable.
Well played, Sydney.
Yeah. For John Vince.
Okay, so so just going back, Dom Barry in hot form at the moment. Kicked 6 on the weekend, and was best on ground the week before in the top of the table clash with a couple of goals and a heap of the ball. And he's with Jeps Cross again.
He's a fantastic player, actually. Very neat.
Dom Barry. So he's in pretty hot form. We had 8 goals from Michael Howson on the weekend out of the 30 from Kilburn. First time since that's the biggest bag we've had in Div 5 since I think it's about round 3 when we had a 10. Okay, so Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5, Tony, halfway through the season. So very exciting. We've got a couple of teams, obviously standouts. The two teams that were undefeated, and Kilburn now just the one loss. Trinity and Colonel Light Gardens played on the weekend, had that unbelievable finish. They're both snapping at the heels. Now, very important, those two are probably the next bracket, because one of those is going to finish third and get the double chance.
You reckon they're safe?
I think they're both. They're probably, you probably got your A's, your B's, and then your C's. So there is a bit of a void. But fifth spot in this division is up for grabs. So we spoke about Elizabeth having those 2 bad losses, then finding himself in fifth. 3 weeks later, well, when Elizabeth were fifth, West Croydon were bottom, and then since that time, West Croydon now fifth after having. Now 1, 2, 3 in a row, and they come up this week. It'll be interesting to see how they come up this week. They've got the match of the round against Trinity, who are third, I reckon, because they've won 3 in a row, West Croydon. But all of those teams, Woodville South, Blackfriars, Pulteney, even Elizabeth, and who's the 5th one? Just let me have a quick look.
West Croydon.
West Croydon, of course, who are occupying that spot. Thank you. It's up for grabs, absolutely. Eastern Park, probably just a bit, they're a couple of games behind this, so I think they're focused. And there's certainly a chance to survive because, there's as much as 5th spot's up for grabs, the relegation spots are up for grabs as well.
You've got one end of the equation is we can play finals, and the other end of the equation is we're in relegation zone.
And all of those 6, well, you look at... some of the, Jeps Cross won 30 in a row, Trinity's 5 in a row, West Croydon 3, but then you got Eastern Park, they've lost 7 in a row, Elizabeth 3 in a row. And Woodville South had lost 4 in a row before they just got over the line on the weekend. So,
Vince, very comprehensive.
We love Division 5. We can't wait to see what happens in the second half of the season, Tony.
Anything more?
Oh, yeah, well, goal kickers. We've got Robert Kovacic from Eastern Park on 29, Scott Young from Kilburn 27, Dominic Barilla from Trinity 26, Corey Sully from Kilburn 24. There are a couple others in the 20s. I think Don Barry might be one of them after he's kicked a few goals in the last few weeks as well. So we look forward to see what happens in the second half of the year. We think it's going to be really, really exciting because there's a lot to play for.
All right, very comprehensive as always, Vince, and can't wait to see what happens over the next 3 weeks, and we'll get you back on again and just see how things have unfolded with that ladder. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us.
It's always a pleasure. Go Division 5.
It's time to take a look around the league. Tony, what do you have for us this week?
Well, our Powerade ambassador, last Thursday night, 9 News Live with Tom Wren, went to the Lockleys Footy Club. Congratulations to Cameron Baker, team manager, senior men's B and C grade, for being nominated as the Powerade ambassador. Why was he nominated? Each week, 60 plus senior players benefit from the care and love that Cam showers upon them. Uniforms washed, that's a hard job in this mud too. Lolly bags packed, I'm heading down there. Even by colour by request. Well, I think they're a rock band. He sets the structure, the expectations that allow these men to do what they love, and that is play footy. He lives for the club, and we love him in return. He's the absolute last person who would be expecting to be recognised, and our senior men will be absolutely chuffed to see him recognised. Thanks to Powerade Australia and Cameron Baker.
Well, we also had the 5AA kick for cash during the week. Mitchell C. Camp and Ash Swanson had a kick each to try and win $1,000 in the 5AA kick for cash. Unfortunately, neither were able to land the footy into the bin. It was cold, wet and gloomy, if it wasn't already hard enough. So, great try for both of them anyway.
I think we're going to have get a mini skip down there or something to kick into, or get them closer. One of the two. Someone's got to win it. I can feel it in the bones, Indy. Righto, Bianco Constructions, magnificent. They joined the team to promote their end of financial year sale. Bianco mid-year sale on now. Spend $250 in the month of June and enter the draw to win this Mustang. They even park the Mustang out the front of the club rooms. Bianco also donated 2 raffle prizes, one for a junior and one for a senior. Thank you to Alex, Patrick and Daniela for coming out and making the night sensational.
Also contributing to the night was Concave football boots. The Cave Gang donated 3 pairs of Concave Halo Plus V2 Grand Final in black/cyan. These boots are amazing. Tom Wren, Checkers and Saray will be wearing them in the C7 game. Lockleys versus PAOC on the last weekend of July.
And of course, thanks to the Police Credit Union once again for the $500 cheque that was given to the Lockleys Footy Club.
Well, of course, we'd also like to thank all of our sponsors for allowing us to peep into everything going on around the league. We got 9 News Adelaide, of course, always keeping an eye on things across the city. Police Credit Union, Villies Bakery, SA Gourmet Meats, West End, Powerade and 5AA. The crew will be back out on the 29th of June dropping the Colonel Light Footy Club.
Fantastic, Indy. Get down to Colonel Light Footy Club. There'll be a lot going on down there that night. I'll tell you what, the Round 8 West End Player of the Week winner went to Division 2 Payneham Norwood Union, who has won a carton of White Claw hard salsa with pineapple. Collection details on Facebook. Head over to the Adelaide Footy League Facebook page to vote for the Round 9 nominees. You can vote for Division 1 Port District, Division 2 Reserves, Foss Candom and C7 Lockleys. Thanks to Lion Brewery.
And of course, we asked for your opinions the previous week, where we wanted to see what the goals and marks of round 8 were, the best ones out there, and the people spoke. The winner of the round 8 mark of the week James O'Loughlin from the Div 5 Eastern Park Footy Club has won a $100 Bianco Construction Supplies voucher. Thank you to Bianco Constructions for providing the voucher, and congratulations to James O'Loughlin, the winner for the Round 8 Goal of the Week, Loney Hampton from Division 4 Plympton Footy Club.
Fantastic, Indy. Folks, we've been asking for you to send in goals, marks and highlights, and we've had a pile sent in, and what we'd like to do is put up a montage, because we talk about it. The game has given us so much, Indy. We've got people now sending in teams singing the songs. We're able to cut footage if we know the game, the player, the time it happened, what number they might be and what the highlight might be. So here is a little glimpse of some of the action over the weekend.
Falls out to Forster. Left handball to Zenny. Zenny over to Evans. Evans.
Oh, no.
Bending back beautifully. And he's put it through.
There's a wall of Brighton players behind the play. Handball, Max running past. Big long kick over the back. It's going to slide. Is this going to run through? It's written all the way through. He's kicked that from the centre circle.
Dangerous. So look at this bloke kick it right down forward. Oh, I tell you what, that is an absolute screamer.
Handball to Zenny. Zenny over to Evans. Evans.
Oh, no.
Bending back beautifully. And he's put it through. Pembroke, he got there.
As you mentioned earlier, with working on his craft, he's really been getting used to his positioning and his defensive craft. And
that is
Still beauty. Paul Paropolo has taken an absolute screamer on the wing here, and he goes forward.
So here are the selections for this week's goals and marks. Remember, the top 3 are on the Adelaide Footy League Facebook page. To vote, simply head over to the page, cast your vote using the relevant emoji.
Ball falls out to Forster. Left handball to Zenny. Zenny over to Evans. Evans.
Oh, no.
Bending back beautifully. And he's put it through.
That was tackled. He's going in again. This one gets the handball out to Humphreys. Now there's going to be a quick shot on goal, and it's a goal. It's the big.
competitor with the hunger to compete. I am for the one who wants to get in their opponent's grill. I am the one who brings you the science. I am Neomorph. I am your protector.
Welcome back, folks. Well, it's time for our Roll the Dice Red Rowie leaderboard in our Player of the Year. And of course, that person wins a $7,500 part ownership in a racehorse. And I'll tell you what, you get out there on the track and train and carry on, you lather up like anything. And that's exactly what that racehorse is doing right now. It's in training, ready for the end of the season for our prize winner. Not only do they win the part owner of a horse, but they also win the beautiful puffer jacket thanks to Roll the Dice Racing with Red Rowie on the front of it. Now, Indy, tell us about the leaderboard. How are things going?
Well, we got a new addition to the leaderboard at the moment. Someone has crept into the conversation as one of the players of the year, although currently Blake Penny from Tea Tree Gully still stands as the current leader with 10 votes. He definitely wouldn't have polled any in their smashing against Prince Alfred last weekend, but he still remains one of the most competitive rucks in the competition, and he's a jack-of-all-trades type of ruckman, which is always appreciated. Chris Curran sits in second place with 9 votes, and, well, he'd have to be fighting off Jack Trangrove and Jolly, of course, to really get those votes. So Chris Curran, very impressive for Prince Alfred. We have 3 different players on 8 votes, and a new addition to the leaderboard, as we said. Nigel Osborne from the Brighton Bombers has crawled in, and on the back of their last 2 impressive wins, Brighton building in a bit of momentum on the back of Nigel Osborne. Could he lead them to something special in a big finals appearance? I don't want to shoot the mouth off too early, but Nigel Osborne will definitely have a big say in that, that's for sure. Bo Schwartz, he's missed the last couple of games with injury, but he still sits on 8 votes. If he can get his body right, he could put together enough 3-vote games to pull right back into the top. I can assure you that much. And Abe Davis, of course, the other Glenunga Rams player who's also with 8 votes. He's also a very versatile, tall player who actually spends a bit of time on ball, reminiscent of Mark Blixar's in a way, but a little bit bigger and bulkier. He's a hard man to tackle, that's for sure.
Big rat, Indy.
And of course, Lewis Sherrad from Port District has 7 votes. And rounding out the leaderboard, Alex Carlotta, the playing coach for Sacred Heart, also has 7 votes. So keep an eye on our show, of course, as we try to give frequent updates on the Roll the Dice Player of the Year award leaderboard. And we try to make sure that it's up to date for all you viewers, just so in case you're curious, you know who some of the best players around the competition are, at least according to those who commentate the game firsthand, Tony.
Red Rowie, remember that name.
Takes the lead in the Coolmore. Crone draws clean out from Mizzy. It's a Queensland victory. And a big payday for his owners, winning the English Millennium in a romp. But Ayrton the class, and Ayrton won the Victoria Handicap. But Mahuda goes all the way. Where again, Mahuda?
Too classy for them. The Blue Star flashing beats them all. A Blue Star gets up the win.
But it's all Globe, 100 metres to go. It's 6 lengths in front. This is an outstanding performance again. And Globe eased down, won the King's Coronation Cup in a canter.
Well, it's come that time of night again, time to wrap things up and have a nice nap and prepare ourselves once again for this Saturday's streams and next week's show. So looking forward to that. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for making this possible. We enjoy providing these shows for you, and obviously we do it a lot with you sponsors in mind, but we'd also like to thank all of the viewers and more importantly, the guests tonight, the ones who did a lot of the division specialist coverage. We really appreciate that, and it adds so much more flavour to the show.
And remember, folks, you can find us on social media. That is absolutely going gangbusters. Thanks for all those people. There's a lot of different things up there. There's highlights, there's balloons, there's songs, there's interviews, goals and marks. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're really happy that people are up there viewing and liking with emojis and so on. A lot of positive comments as well. So thank you so much. As always, as we said, something interesting going on in the Adelaide Football League. We'd like to thank you also all for viewing Between the Posts.
I'm Vince Cosmate.
I'm Phil Herden.
Thanks for watching Between the Posts.
Thanks for watching Between the Posts.